Ever feel like your world has been turned upside down? Like the one person you trusted most has shattered your reality? That's exactly where John found himself. He had what he thought was a perfect life. A loving wife, Sarah, a beautiful home, and dreams they were building together. But one rainy Tuesday, a single anonymous email arrived, and with a click, that perfect picture began to fracture. The email was short, cruel, and to the point. It contained photos of Sarah with another man. John's first reaction was disbelief. This had to be a mistake, a prank, a malicious lie. Sarah was his high school sweetheart, his best friend. They had inside jokes that nobody else got, a shared history that was the bedrock of his life. This couldn't be real. He confronted her that evening, his hands shaking as he held out his phone. He was hoping for a denial, a logical explanation, anything. But the look on her face, a mixture of shock and guilt, told him everything. The confession came tumbling out, filled with tears and I don't know whys. The man was a colleague. It had been going on for months. Each word was a sledgehammer to the foundation of their marriage. The days that followed were a blur of numb silence and agonizing questions. John slept on the couch, the familiar comfort of their shared bed now a source of unbearable pain. He replayed their entire relationship in his mind, searching for signs he might have missed. Were the late nights at work really about work? Was her sudden interest in a new hobby a cover for something else? The trust, once so solid, had evaporated, replaced by a fog of suspicion and betrayal. His friends were furious on his behalf. "You have to leave her," one said. "Make her pay," said another. "Expose him at his job. Ruin them both." The advice was a chorus of anger and vengeance, and a part of John agreed. The rage was a fire in his chest, a primal urge to inflict the same pain he was feeling. He imagined confronting the other man, exposing their secret to the world, and watching their lives crumble just as his had. The thought brought a dark, fleeting satisfaction. He even drafted the emails, one to the man's wife, another to their HR department. His finger hovered over the send button, the power to create chaos right at his fingertips. Revenge felt just. It felt righteous. It felt like the only way to reclaim some of the power he had lost. But as he sat there, staring at the screen, a different thought began to creep in. What would it accomplish? Sure, he could cause them pain. He could disrupt their lives, maybe even get the other man fired. But then what? Would it mend his broken heart? Would it erase the betrayal? Or would it just entangle him further in a web of bitterness and negativity? He realized that holding on to this anger was like holding a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. He was the one getting burned. This wasn't an easy realization. It came in fits and starts. In the dead of night when the house was silent and his grief was loudest, he started taking long walks just to clear his head. He watched the sunrise, a simple, daily miracle he'd never paid much attention to before. He started a journal not to list his grievances, but to understand his own feelings. He was hurt, yes. He was devastated. But he didn't want to be defined by this one catastrophic event. He didn't want his future to be a monument to his wife's mistake. One evening, he sat down with Sarah. Not to yell, not to accuse, but to talk. He told her calmly that he couldn't stay in the marriage. The trust was gone, and he didn't know if it could ever be rebuilt. But he also told her something else. He told her he forgave her. Sarah looked stunned. Forgiveness was the last thing she expected. John explained that the forgiveness wasn't for her, not really. It was for him. It was his way of letting go of the rage, of releasing himself from the prison of resentment. "I don't want to carry this anger for the rest of my life," he said, his voice steady for the first time in weeks. "I want peace, and I can't find peace while I'm plotting revenge." The divorce was quiet and civil. They divided their assets without the usual animosity. John moved into a smaller apartment, starting over with just the essentials. It was hard. There were lonely nights and moments of profound sadness. Rebuilding a life from scratch is never easy. But without the heavy burden of anger, he felt lighter. He reconnected with old hobbies he'd let slide. He started hiking again, finding solace in the quiet strength of nature. He volunteered at an animal shelter, the unconditional affection of the dogs a balm for his wounded spirit. He wasn't focused on finding someone new. He was focused on rediscovering himself. Who was John, outside of his marriage to Sarah? He was kind, he was resilient, he was capable of finding joy in small things. A year later, he ran into one of the friends who had urged him to seek revenge. The friend asked if he ever regretted not making Sarah and the other man pay. John smiled, a genuine, peaceful smile. "No," he said. "Destroying their lives wouldn't have built mine back up. It would have just created more wreckage." He had learned a powerful lesson. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do isn't to fight back. It's to let go, to choose your own peace over someone else's punishment. John chose to walk away from the fire, not pour more gasoline on it. And in doing so, he didn't just survive the devastation. He found a path to a new, stronger, and more authentic life. He chose peace, and in the end, that was the most powerful victory of all. What John's story teaches us is that our energy is finite. We can spend it on anger, on bitterness, on plotting revenge, or we can invest it in ourselves, in our healing, and in building a future that isn't defined by our past hurts. The choice is always ours. Thank you so much for watching and sharing this time with me. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content that explores the complexities of life and the strength of the human spirit. We'll see you in the next one.